MPC has now been updated to 2.9. At the time of making this video, I'm running version 2.9 beta, which is just strictly for the firmware for the hardware. So I don't have a software version of this. And also in the release notes, there's no additional improvements such as workflow enhancements or additional features that have been added to my knowledge. But that may well not be the case when this is released to the public. So there may well be additional features when this finally comes out. So this is purely just focusing on the addition of the highly anticipated drum synth from Air Instruments. Before I get into the video, I just want to thank all my current subscribers, anyone that's liked and shared my videos, anyone that follows and supports me on social media, and of course anyone that's been kind enough to donate to this channel. If you'd like to do that yourselves, there's a PayPal link in the description and I'll be most grateful for your help. If you're interested in private lessons with myself, please contact me at tubedigga@gmail.com for more details. You can find out how much my lessons are if you go to www.tubedigga.com/lessons, and I give discounts for multiple lesson bookings. These lessons can be conducted over Skype, Google Hangouts or Zoom, whatever you prefer. So as said, I've not found any other enhancements or workflow improvements or features that have been added for 2.9, and the release notes that I had personally didn't specify anything at all other than the addition of drum synth. So let's just focus on that. So drum synth can be used in two different ways. We can use drum synth multi, which maps the drum modules across the first 8 pads, or we can use a single drum module on an individual track. So if I go up to track 2, so let's just double tap there, and you can see that we can have drum synth clap, crash, hi-hat, kick, perk, ride, snare, tom. So you can't add any more iterations or instances, should I say, of drum synth multi. You can only run one per project. But that's understandable once we take a look at the program editor. So let's do that now. Let's press and hold menu and press pad 14. And I will show you the extensive editing parameters that we've got for each module in drum synth multi. So along the bottom here, we've got all our 8 drum modules. If we use this arrow, we can scroll across to get access to 5, 6, 7 and 8. Let's go back to drum synth 1. So we're not restricted to just having the kick drum, which is automatically assigned to pad 1 here. We can actually change the actual drum sound from here. So we can have a snare there, clap, hi-hat, ride, any of the other modules, and we can have multiple versions of those. So we could have 8 snare drums if we wanted, or 8 claps, or a mixture of any of these. So we're not restricted to having them on the pads that they're by default loaded to. Also, if you take a look here, we've got all the sculpting parameters and the sort of harmonic and timbral parameters. So for this actual model of the kick drum, so underneath where it says kick, we've got model. So let's double tap there. So we've got quite a lot of options here. We've got 80, 90, driven, hybrid, trance, natural A, natural B, hard 1, hard 2 and clipped. And if we change those, so I'm just going to focus on that and move the data wheel, you'll see that these parameters are different for each different module. So we get all different types of sculpting parameters here. Now there's quite an interesting one, which I'll get to a bit later, and that is strictly for the percussion modules, and that's an FM module, and you can do a bit of FM synthesis with those, but I'll get back to that a bit later on. So as said, we've got the type of drum module here. We've got the model, which will update these parameters. Underneath that, we've got velocity. So it's currently set at 100%. With full level deactivated, that means the pads will respond to velocity. With this at 0, it's essentially going to behave as if we've got full level activated. But next to that, we've got a secondary velocity parameter. It's by default set to 0%. But next to that, we've got a target that we can set that to. So let's increase that to 100. We can actually go into the minus or negatives and have that at minus 100 and flip the behavior of it. Let's turn down the actual velocity so we can just hear this working in isolation. So now it's not going to respond to pressure for the volume, but it will respond to pressure for the parameter we set for velocity 2. So if I set that to parameter 1, which is tuning in the case of this particular model, let's actually increase the tuning all the way to the very maximum, and I'm going to use note repeat. So let's just go quickly back to the main page, press note repeat. Let's change this to 1/8 notes. Let's go back to program editor, and you can see that you could probably create a baseline now with this affecting the tuning. So on and so forth. So this target can be mapped to any of the parameters that are available for the particular model that you're using. So it goes from parameter 1 up to parameter 8. Just above that, we've got the option to have the drum module in one shot or note on. So with one shot, it will just play out the sound, and also that's obviously going to be affected by the hold and decay that we've got in this particular model. If we uncheck one shot, then we've got more control over the actual note length, depending on how long we press it or how long the note is actually recorded into the sequence or drawn into the sequence. So it's exactly the same as one shot and note on in a drum program or a key group program. The last parameter in this actual graphic display with this nice artwork here of the kick drum is the volume. So we can control the volume here, and this is also reflected in the mixer window, which I'll get to a bit later on. So these parameters that you see here and also over here, these are the effects. So everything that's on this page is also available for every other drum module, or the other 7 drum modules. But for each one of these, we've got 2 additional sub pages. So this is the second page, and this is where we can control the transient and distortion effects, and those can be switched on or off over here. So this is transient, that's on now, distortion, EQ and compressor. So the EQ and compressor are on the 3rd page, and there we've got extensive controls for the EQ and compressor. As I said, we can switch on both those and the distortion and transient all from this tab on the side. Let's now quickly scroll across to Drum Synth 7, which is pad 7, and that's our percussion module. If we go to the model, and if we scroll all the way clockwise, we get to FM Synth. And this one's quite interesting, so we can choose different parameters like FM depth, FM tuning, and the overall tune. And we've got a complex parameter here. If we switch off one shot and increase hold and decay to their maximum, you can get some quite crazy synthesis action. Just with this percussion module. Let's now scroll across to these final parameters. So this is Drum Synth 8, and just next to that we've got send effects. So these are the send effects. So we've got delay, diffuser and reverb. Now I've tested this. All of these parameters that you see are right automatable, which is great, albeit the time parameter for the delay, which is a real shame, because to me personally that's a really interesting parameter to automate, and you can get some really weird pitching effects and pings and stuff if you start mucking about with the time parameter of delays. However, the diffuser, you can actually modify the delay time of that, but if you do that, it actually cuts out the sound. With the reverb, we've got different room modes, so we've got abstract, room, stadium and hall. We've got a time parameter here, and it is quite a nice reverb actually. If you increase the time parameter to its maximum, it's quite similar to the reverb in Tube Synth, which I really like, because you can set it to infinity. So it doesn't actually go on for infinity, but it's extremely long. Again, over here on the right, we can switch off the delay the diffuser and the reverb, and all of these switches are automatable as well, which is good to have. Now the last tab at the bottom here is the mixer section. So these are just the volume controls for each drum module, and we've got mute and solo, so we can mute them out just by tapping the number there, and we can solo them by pressing the S or switching that on and off. Again, they're all automatable as well. And if we tap on the actual drum module itself, this gets highlighted in red, and we can use the data wheel, and again we can switch out the different sounds there. You can't automate that, unfortunately, so it won't actually automate those changes of the actual modules, because obviously it's updating all the different timbral controls and parameters that apply to the different models of each drum module. So again, with the mixer, we've got 3 separate subpages. So this is the first one. This is your basic mixer. The second one is a matrix where you can quickly and easily switch off the transient, distortion, EQ and compressor effects for each module. So we can turn those on and off for every single different module that we've got in Drum Synth Multi. The last subpage for the sends is the delay, diffuser and reverb settings, so we can add different amounts of those effects here. So this is our percussion sound on pad 7, so I can increase the delay amount. Let's switch that off. This is the diffuser. So that's quite nice. Let's go back to the send effects and change the delay time. Let's increase the feedback. So some really nice effects there, and this is without the diffusion parameter even engaged. And we've got a brightness control for the diffuser as well. And you can see when I change the actual delay value, it cuts the sound out completely. So it's best to settle on one and not change that, otherwise your sound will be cut out, unless you want to use it as a mute or an effect kind of bypass. So you can get some really nice effects with that. Let's go back to the mixer and our third subpage, and let's just turn down diffuser for the percussion module. Let's switch on the delay, go back to send effects, and let's try some different things with the delay. So it's simple enough. Let's increase the feedback to a very high amount. So you have to be careful with the feedback there, especially when you're using this resonance control. But if we just have the feedback at a bit more of a moderate value and increase the resonance, you can get some nice effects with the delay there. Let's go back again to our sends page for the reverb, delay and diffuser. Let's turn the delay down and let's try the reverb. Let's put that up to the maximum and go back to send effects, and let's play about with the reverb. So this is hall mode, very short time, 1.9 seconds. Let's increase that to the maximum. Sounds good. And we've got low cut and high cut, so let's actually reduce the low cut and see how much low frequencies we can get into that tail of the reverb. Nice and dark. Let's make it even darker by reducing the high cut. So you can see there's a lot of scope for sound design with just this one sound and using the effects. However, these effects are global, so we don't get individual parameter control for each drum module in the Drum Synth Multi. So that's pretty much it for Drum Synth Multi, and you can see we've got a ton of parameters here that we can muck about with and get some stuff going in real time, and also written into the sequence via automation. So just to show you that, let's just do some automation on this particular patch. So I'm going to reload this project so it resets the drum pattern that I had. So projects, drum synth, load. Let's just go through some of the different modules, or models should I say, for the individual modules. So this is the kick, of course. Let's first of all change this to 90. Got this distorted version, or driven, hybrid, trance. So this is a natural one, so these are quite nice. So you can get some nice tribal stuff with those. What about the snare? Let's change some of these snare parameters. So this is the comp B. What else can we do? Hi-hat. So this is electric. So you can get some kind of weird sounds there. That is drum synth multi. Let's just go to track 2, switch it back to a plugin, and let's just take a look at the difference between drum synth multi and an individual drum sound of drum synth. So let's go to menu, pad 14, and as you can see, this is a lot more stripped down. We don't have the mixer section, we don't have the send section, so we don't have any effects like delay, reverb, or diffuser in here. We've just got compressor, EQ, transient, and distortion. So for this, let's just check in the main page. I've not actually checked this, but if we go to pad mix, there's no pad mixer. So this is just treated as a single program and a single drum sound. So if you did want to add effects, you'd have to go to the track mixer, choose the plugin, which in this case is plugin 002, and then you could just add insert effects there. So there's one last thing that I want to show you with drum synth, and that's for the individual instances of drum synth. So this only works with particular instruments, but if we go to the program editor, you can see the individual kick drum has this additional parameter of chromatic. So now we can play this as an actual tuned program. So this is excellent because then we've obviously got a bass line, and it is quite a nice sub bass sound. That's it guys, that is MPC 2.9 drum synth. As said, I only had a limited release note sheet which just literally specified the update as being for drum synth only. But I would imagine there are some workflow improvements, possibly some more features, whether they're going to be exciting or just kind of standard or mediocre things that are handy but not particularly exciting. That may well be the case, but for the moment we've just got drum synth, and it is certainly nothing to be disappointed about if that is just the case, because that is quite a big update. So that's it guys, not much more else to say about drum synth. Hope you enjoyed the video guys. Please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Please follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you want, and please donate to this channel if you fancy helping me out. There's a PayPal link in the description, and for private lessons please contact me at tubedigga@gmail.com for more details, and I will see you on the next one. This is Tubedigga and I'm out.